Now, this is going to be the only video that you need for section A and section B. Believe me, because this creates a very simple, easy to follow step-by-step plan. If you use this template and apply all these connectors, you don't need anything else, okay? Second, a continuous action that happened in the past or past routine. If you are explaining the story in a line of fashion from time A to B in the past, this should all happen in passé composé and imperfect. Here, dimanche matin, c'est when. Un incident surprenant en Ontario, that is what and where. Ou un enfant de 6 ans a alerté la police. Who? Okay, so this is something which happened once. We will use passive composite. And if all the actions happened before our main event in the past, which was him getting disappointed and then calling the police, and for this we are going to use Pushpa Parfait. Okay, now for all these, I have a simple trick that I always share with my students, which is called 2-3-2 rules. First, you give your proposition here, and then the main idea, then you give an explanation, and then you do clauses and confirms the argument. Bonjour à tous et bienvenue. Moi, je m'appelle Hani, je suis votre institutrice de la langue française. If your PR depends on TEF writing, this might be the most important video to watch this year. Most students think section A and B are about good French and just having good grammar. They are wrong. It's about these few very important points that no one ever talks about on internet. Two independent examiners will correct your paper and they are looking for very specific things first along. And in this video, I'll tell you how to build all these aspects both for section A and section B by providing you a ready to use, easy to follow section A and B structure and simple to understand framework. I'll also provide you 5 topics of section A and B each so that you can practice by your own by applying all the knowledge that you gained from this video. And I'll also tell you the biggest mistakes to avoid, because these are very common mistakes that everyone make, which keeps their writing score just to CLB 5 or 6. After this, you will not need another writing guide, believe me. So let's break it down step by step, all right? I'm very excited to get started. So first, let's discuss about exam structure and blueprint. See, writing section is 1 hour in total. That's divided into 2 parts for section A and section B, right? You are a candidate sitting in front of the exam computer. Okay, you start the exam. It starts with section A, goes for 25 minutes, right? You will be given a catchy headline of a news report. Something like your task is to continue a short newspaper style story. You must write at least 80 words. Okay, 80 words here for section A. You must write multiple paragraphs, and you can add new information, not copy or just summarize the prompt. And then once 25 minutes are done, you must submit before that, because the screen will automatically change to section B. Now let's talk about section B here. Section B is 35 minutes, right? With and that's around 200 words minimum. The statement will be given to you and you are supposed to respond to the newspaper opinion and clearly express your point of view with at least 3 arguments and examples. Well, here we have the examples. You can see, well, this is the example of section A, and here it's an example of section B topic with a response given by a candidate. The topic in the exam is typed on a computer, and during the exam, you will be given an on-screen keyboard through which you will be able to select the exam. This is how exactly it looks. Your writing is corrected by 2 independent examiners using an official evaluation grade. They assess 2 main things. First, your task achievement and organization. Did you answer correctly? Is your structure clear? Are the ideas developed logically and properly? Second, the language control, complexity of your vocabulary, accuracy and variety of grammar like verbs, tenses, agreements, spellings, coherence, and much more. Okay, why? Well, result is reported on a 0 to 699 scale along with a CFR level and an NCLC level. This is how the equivalence table looks like. Okay, and this is going to be the exam rubric. If you respect the word count, write with a clear structure without too many grammatical mistakes, and use the tenses correctly, you are already ahead of most candidates. Here are the things well, you can check what are required. So like I just mentioned, minimum word count limit, fulfill clear structure and flow, precise grammar, tense accuracy. If you have all these things in a place, you are good to go. Now let's properly understand section A of TEF writing exam, because honestly, this is where many students lose their marks unnecessarily. Okay. Section A is not complicated, but it's very, very specific. You are given the beginning of a short newspaper article, usually something like a page, meaning a small news event. I gave you an example earlier as well. It could be about an unusual incident, a surprising situation, something that happened in a city, a public reaction, police involvement, or some minor dramatic event. Your job is simple. You must continue the report writing, but this is where students make mistakes. Please understand that you are not summarizing, you are not telling a tale, you are not rewriting what is already written. You are continuing the story logically as if you are the journalist finishing the article. Make sure the story you are writing is worthy of a news report. Oftentimes, I see that students are writing the stories which are a bit too simple. It feels like a regular story. So make sure that the incident or event has some weight to it. Now let's talk about the timing and technical structure of section A. So far, you already know we have 25 minutes for section A. You must write multiple paragraphs. Okay. Not just one block, because three multiple paragraphs help you to structurize each paragraph with its own intent. I'll explain the intent of each paragraph very, very soon. The minimum word requirement is 80 words. Okay. But I always recommend aiming for 90 to 120 words so that you are comfortably above the limit. Being exactly at 80 is risky, and you cannot spend time counting the words during the exam. That's why just a little over 80 words, about 90 to 120. This is the range that should be perfect. And for this, I have a simple trick that I shared with my students, that is called 2-3-2 rule. Okay, first paragraph should have two sentences. Well, this is two sentences. Then second paragraph, three sentences, and the last paragraph again, two sentences. Okay, please note that I'm saying sentences, not lines, because lines can be more or less depending on the width of the document. So whenever the full stop of your sentence happens, that is considered as one of sentence, averaging about 15 words. Now can your section A be more or less than this? Yes, this is just like a visual and abstract tool to make it easier for you to predict about 100 words without actually counting them. But if you write more in them, it's completely okay, especially in the second paragraph. Now let's understand what examiners are really looking for. Okay, they are evaluating two main aspects. First, the quality and relevance. Okay, quality and relevance of your text. That means, do you respect the task? Does your continuation make sense? Is it coherent? Did you logically develop the situation? And second is called your misalong, your control of French. That includes grammatical accuracy, your vocabulary, your tenses, your gender, number argument, your syntax, your spelling penetrations. But here is the important thing to know. Section A is not about sophisticated vocabulary. Okay, it's more about coherency, clarity, and ease of understanding, a logical flow and development of the story. Now, let me explain how you should think step by step during the exam. Um, First 2 minutes are very, very crucial. You read carefully and identify these 5 elements: qui, quoi, où, quand, et comment. Okay. Um, that means who is involved, what happened already, where did it happen, when did it happen, what is missing. Because what you wrote, what you write must add new information, not repeat the prompt. If the prompt already explains that a child called the police because he was disappointed with a Christmas gift, then your continuation must describe what happened after the call, how the authorities reacted, what did the parents say, what the consequences were. Okay, you are filling in the logical continuation of the story. After reading, take 3 minutes to plan the 3 paragraphs. It's very important that you are pre-planning before starting your writing section. I always teach my students this structure, so follow this carefully. Paragraph number 1, let's talk about its intention. The intention over here is more specific, details on the incident. This is where we paraphrase the title and add more information regarding what, when, where, who, why. Let's read the first paragraph of this topic, which I already mentioned earlier. Read it with me. Dimanche matin, un incident surprenant a eu lieu en Ontario où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté la police parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël. Personne n'aurait jamais pensé qu'un tel incident puisse se produire. Here, the intention of paragraph 1, it's more specific details on the incident. This is where we paragraph the title and add more information regarding what, when, where, who, and why that I will mention. Okay. So here, dimanche matin, it's when, right? Un incident surprenant a eu lieu. What happened? En Ontario, where? Où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté la police? Où? Parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël is why. Okay. So this is where we build a curiosity to begin. Like this. So here it was the first paragraph. Okay. So this is what we overall say. What happened right after the incident? Did someone arrive? Did someone respond? Was there an intervention? This is where we build a curiosity to begin telling the main plot in our second paragraph, which brings us to the second paragraph. Now, let's talk about the intention of paragraph number 2 so that you can go forward accordingly. Okay, paragraph number 2. This is where we do something what is called the development. Okay, le développement. This is where we are adding the details. What actions were taken, what explanations were given, how did the situation evolve. So first, let's read the second paragraph together, and then I'll explain you how to structure it. Selon le rapport reçu par notre journal, l'enfant avait placé beaucoup d'espoir dans ses cadeaux de Noël. En effet, il avait déjà annoncé à ses camarades qu'il leur recevrait un vélo et un jeu vidéo du Père Noël. Cependant, le matin du 25 décembre, lorsqu'il a ouvert ses paquets, il a été stupéfait de découvrir un livre. Extrêmement déçu, il a immédiatement appelé la police pour déposer une plainte contre le Père Noël. Les agents, amusés par la petite voix de l'enfant mécontent, lui ont expliqué avec douceur qu'il recevrait peut-être ses cadeaux plus tard. Okay. So, always start this paragraph with selon le rapport reçu par notre journal, selon les témoignages, selon les rapports préliminaires. Okay. Okay. And then develop the story step by step. Make sure that while reading the second paragraph, the sentences must follow a proper chronological order. Now, over here, I want to make you understand one very important thing, or I want to teach you one very important thing, which is called past tenses. In section A, there are three tenses we will use most often. First, passive composé, a single action that happened in the past. Okay. Second, a continuous action that happened in the past or a past routine or a habit. Then third tense, which is also very important, is called plus de parfait. It is a past action that happened before another past action. So it is technically called past of the past. If you are explaining the story in a linear fashion, from time A to B in the past, this should all happen in passé composé or imparfait. So we are going to mark this point in the timeline as time AB. First line of the paragraph, it is its perfect example. You can well check here. Like dimanche matin, un incident surprenant a eu lieu en Ontario où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté la police parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël. Okay? So dimanche matin, un incident surprenant a eu lieu en Ontario. Okay? Où un enfant de 6 ans a alerté. So here we are using passé composé. Then la police parce qu'il n'était pas satisfait. Il n'était pas satisfait de ses cadeaux de Noël. Here we are using imperfect. But if you are explaining something which happened even in the past of the time A, B, you should use plus the parfait while using a logical connector to refer back to the earlier past in the timeline. As you can clearly see here in the first paragraph, we already used passive composite to explain why the child called the police, but there is one more past layer. When this child was expecting to receive the gift from Santa Claus, which was logically and according to the time before the time frame AB. So if I want to go to that time frame and say according to the report received, the child had a lot of hopes in his Christmas gifts, I cannot use passé composé. I'll have to use plus de parfait like this. Well, if you see here, selon le rapport reçu par notre journal, l'enfant avait placé beaucoup d'espoir dans ses cadeaux de Noël. En effet, il avait déjà annoncé à ses camarades qu'il leur recevrait un vélo et un jeu vidéo dû par Noël. Now, this all must remain in plus de parfait because all the actions happened before our main event in the past, which was him getting disappointed and then calling the police. So make sure to use all these three tenses in the first and second paragraph because mixing these correctly show a good grammatical control, which makes the examiner very happy. Now, I hope this explanation made you visualize the past tense properly and clear out your past tense related doubts. Now, let's also talk about connectors first. Well, guys, you should always use a good amount of connectors to smoothly transition from one sentence to another. So make sure to read these paragraphs and see all the highlighted connectors that I have used so that you are able to use them in your writing as well. And make sure to use them as logically as you can. You don't need to push these connectors, but the more you use them with a proper logic, the more your writing will feel attractive and the more and higher score you will get. Okay. And for section A, your best friends are time connectors like d'abord, ensuite, quelques minutes plus tard, puis finalement, au final, etc. Now, once you have done writing paragraph number 2 with all this information, now let's move on to the paragraph number 3 and its intention. This paragraph will be your conclusion. This is where we tell how the whole incident ended and add a suggestion or a public statement or a safety measure given by any character. Okay, that final paragraph is very important because it should sound like an ending of a news article. Let's read the paragraph together. Lors du reportage, les parents du petit enfant ont assuré qu'ils profiteraient de cet incident pour lui apprendre à exprimer sa déception de manière plus appropriée. Les autorités ont rappelé que les numéros d'urgence doivent être utilisés uniquement en cas de nécessité réelle. Now, the intention, this paragraph will be our conclusion. Okay, this is where we tell how the whole incident ended, and add a suggestion, a public statement, or safety measures given by a character as mentioned. You can also use expressions like, get est en cours, les autorités ont rappelé que l'incident s'est terminé sans blessés, les policiers ont expliqué, il a déclaré que, etc., etc. Okay, depending on the context of what you wrote. And these small phrases immediately make your writing sound more authentic and professional. Now, let's talk about what not to do and what we should like be careful about during the exams. Okay, so do not copy sentences from the prompt. That gives you zero added value. Do not change the story completely into something unrealistic. It must stay credible. Do not write dialogue in a dramatic storytelling style. This is not a novel, okay? This is a newspaper continuation, and please do not write everything in one big paragraph. Make sure to divide them properly. Next point, remember structure and good grammar beats high-end vocabulary. Though it's important to have good level of vocabulary, but first priority should be writing and easy to read structure using good connectors and reducing your grammatical mistakes and awkward English to French translation. Finally, let me give you the bigger picture. Section A is actually your opportunity to score safely. It's shorter, it is structurized, it is predictable. If you master this format, the three paragraphs, chronological order with logical connectors, neutral tone, and proper tenses, you can secure solid marks without needing advanced vocabulary. This is how you score higher in Section A. Now, as I promised at the end of Section A explanation, I will leave you by giving you these three sections, A topics written on the same topic, but different writings, one of CLB 5, one of CLB 7, and one of CLB 9, so that you can compare your own writing with it and see where you stand. Now, please make sure to pause the video, compare them carefully, look at sentence length, look at connectors, look at tense control, look at the level of vocabulary that is getting used, and ask yourself honestly, where does your writing currently stand? Now we move on to section B, and this is the part where most students either jump from CLB 6 to 9 or they lose marks because they write without a proper plan. So listen to this very, very carefully. Okay, so well, in section B, in TEF exam, you are reacting to a statement from a newspaper and you have to do one thing very clearly. Take a position and justify it with at least three arguments and ideally one example per argument and citing a study in at least one of the paragraphs. Okay, I want you to remember one thing. This is not a letter writing exam. This is an argumentation. Okay, you can start it with bonjour. Okay, bonjour, madame, bonjour, monsieur, anything like that. I'll give you the options to use. But after that, what matters is your logic, okay? Your development of the idea, your connectors, your grammar control. Now, I'm going to show you the exact system I teach to my students. See, here's a proper plan. Now, you write the full text in next 22 minutes, and please leave your last 3 minutes, okay, last 3 minutes to properly proofread, review, and refine your text. So if you follow this, you have a proper plan right from the beginning, and things become so much easier because you are not thinking about anything randomly or on spot. You think and you create your plan for first 3 minutes, and then you execute it for the remainder of the time. Now I'll teach you the structure. Okay, first let's start from the introduction. Well, guys, honestly, your introduction does not need to be crazy complex. A simple and short works the best. Here are the variations you can use depending on if you are fully agreeing, with fully disagreeing, partially agreeing with a disagreement. That means 2:1 ratio, partially disagreeing with a common point of view, which is 2:2, one ratio again. But over here, we are disagreeing first. Majority, we are disagreeing, and then one common point. So please make sure to pause the video and note this down in detail. All wordings and properly set according to what we need to say according to your position. So you don't need to change anything here. Just add the element where the bracket says you to do so, and you will be fine. Now, one very important point for section B, I highly recommend to never completely agree or disagree. Always either partially agree with a disagreement or partially disagree with one agreement. Why? Because this helps you to choose and use more variety of language in your article. When you are just fully agreeing or disagreeing, your article becomes a bit monotonous. Okay, you are not able to use a lot of varied connectors, and your argument ideas also start to exhaust. That is why 2:1 keeps it more varied, nuanced, and interesting. Now let's talk about the global structure of first, second, and third paragraph. This structure won't change whether you agree or disagree. What will change be the sentence starting connectors. I will explain that also very, very soon. Now, the structure of every argument paragraph must follow the same rhythm. Okay, well, guys, now the structure of every argument paragraph must follow the same rhythm. Okay, first you give a proposition here, that is your main idea. Then you give an explanation, okay, which is called explication, why it is true, what it means, etc. Okay, this is also where you give an example, right here, example or site or study. Then you do reaffirmation. Okay, one line that closes and confirms the argument. This is the secret. Most students write only explanations without clearly stating the proposition, the idea, and they also they forget to give a proper closure to the paragraph. This is why the paragraph feels messy and incomplete. So this is going to be your section B structure, visualized for a better understanding. Now the structure will remain same if you are agreeing or disagreeing. Your intro, then your paragraph one. Okay, paragraph one, like after the introduction, your paragraph one, then paragraph two, and paragraph three, and then conclusion. Now let's start with the introduction first. Okay, so introduction, you can select one according to the plan. And now for the upcoming paragraphs, like 1 to 3, I will include all the useful expressions and connectors. Make sure to pick and choose from the ones that I give you. These connectors and expressions are already tried and tested, so you don't need to overthink. Just follow these connectors. Paragraph 1, which is our agreement paragraph, our propositions will start with, yeah, here you can see, like, tout d'abord, certes, nous ne pouvons pas nier que, il faut comprendre que, etc. Okay, and then you give your first proper statement. Okay, and then second line will be your explanation. This is where you're in the first one, that's your idea. Okay, your proper statement. Well, in the next will be the explanation. This is where you cite a study. Okay, this is where you cite a study, or you give an example. Okay, a study or sondage works perfect. Or okay, so this is where you cite a study and or an example to give a solid proof of your first argument. Now the third line, reaffirmation. So here you can use the expressions. For example, une étude publiée par a study done by, un sondage mené par, à titre d'exemple, etc. Then third, we have the reaffirmation. Okay, and reaffirmation, which starts with the expressions like c'est pourquoi, alors, okay, and then end the paragraph by solidifying your position, right? Obviously, I'll be showing you a text which will give you a better understanding in how to do each and every one of those things. Now, paragraph 2 will be our agreement again. Well, now paragraph 2 will be our agreement again. Okay, we will give a proposition first, right? And then we will start the second paragraph with the first connector. Okay, like here in the first one, we will give the proposition by citing or by giving the expressions like de surcroît, en plus, deuxièmement, etc. Okay, we will start the second paragraph with first characters like this, which will be is as mentioned, and then or for then you write your explanation. Okay, the second point is explanation. Okay, so that you complete your proposition and then we move on to the explanation where you again you give an example or a study or sondage using same connectors like une étude publiée par un sondage mené par à titre d'exemple, etc. The same connectors you can use. Okay. Examples, if you have already cited a study or given a sondage earlier in this paragraph, I would like you to give an example so that we can vary the explanation. Okay, so then after you give a proper explanation, you go on reaffirmation. And when you can start, say, pour cette raison que donc, alors, right? Uh, um, and then you can end the paragraph by solidifying your position. Now let's talk about paragraph number 3. Well, now move to the paragraph number 3, paragraph 3, which is going to be disagreement, or if your earlier two paragraphs were for disagreement, this will be your agreement. Okay. Now you start proposition. Now over here for this agreement, we are using, par exemple, cependant, toutefois, en revanche, néanmoins, de notre côté, je ne partage pas totalement cette conclusion car il faut aussi considerer que now over here for disagreement we are using. So after you use these connectors in the beginning of the paragraph, you move on to your main affirmation, which is going to be a simple explanation will work over here. Why? Because we don't need to cite studies or give very firm examples if this is not the major opinion that we share. So this is why try not to go too much complex over here. And then you end the third paragraph with like here with reaffirmation. Okay. Alors, il convient donc de nuancer cette affirmation, cette réalité montre que la situation n'est pas too complex. This will be your third paragraph, and then you move on to the conclusion. Okay. Now let's quickly talk about conclusion. It can stay simple, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, for conclusion, you can stay simple. You can use just this one if you are mostly agreeing. Okay, en conclusion, bien que cette affirmation soit en grande partie correcte, un équilibre doit être maintenu afin de considérer les différentes situations possibles. Right? Or if you are disagreeing mostly, which one common point of view, then you can say en conclusion, même si certains éléments de cette opinion sont valables, il est nécessaire de garder une vision équilibrée pour mieux comprendre la réalité. Je vous remercie. Okay, till here. And then at the end, you can wrap up with this thing. Je vous remercie de me laisser faire part de mon point de vue et j'espère que vous allez le publier cordialement and well, any imaginary name. Okay. Now I'm going to take a section B text from my student and tell you how she has applied all these points that I mentioned for introduction, paragraph 1, 2, 3, and then the conclusion. Well, guys, here we have the example. So the topic you can see here the student is partially agreeing with one disagreement. Okay, the topic is les enfants ne font plus rien avec leur main. Well, we have started with the salutation like bonjour, madame, monsieur. Then we have the introduction. Okay, well, you can use the same connectors and the part which is written here in the inverted commas. You can use the same. You can use the topic which you got in the exam, right? The introduction is a template intro. Then the first paragraph, this is your first paragraph. Well, then you have the second paragraph, the third paragraph. Okay. The first paragraph is explaining the first argument. Let's read it properly. Certes, okay. Well, you can see the this one expression which is used. Certes, certes, nous ne pouvons pas nier que l'essor de la technologie nuit à l'apprentissage des activités manuelles chez les enfants. Okay, then we are giving the sondage. Une étude publiée par l'université, Okay, the study or the survey done by the university. And then at last, from il faut donc reconnaître que la multiplication des outils numériques entraîne une baisse d'intérêt pour les activités manuelles chez les enfants. That is what the reaffirmation to strengthen our position further. And this is a pattern we are repeating in the next two paragraphs as well. And then the only difference is because the third paragraph is disagreeing, we are using the connector, which is cependant. Okay. So our proposition of disagreement paragraph is when we are giving a simple explanation and like we are continuing with the conclusion here. Okay. So en conclusion, right? In conclusion, while giving this conclusion. Okay. So the thing, what you should consider here, to not write only two arguments, obviously, because three arguments is the minimum requirement that you have to do. Don't write arguments without example. Don't just be like, okay, I don't agree because of this. Properly explain, properly defend your point of view. Okay, don't repeat the same idea in different words. This happens very commonly, especially when you are agreeing completely or disagreeing completely. Do not write an introduction of 8 lines. Please make sure to keep introduction short and simple, because that's not where you are going to get evaluated. You are going to get evaluated on the these three arguments that you are making. Okay. And please do not write very complicated, crazy sentences if you cannot control grammar. Clarity wins more than complexity. A lot of students, what they try to do, they try to use very complex vocabulary. Then they are not sure if the grammar is correct or not. So that is something that you should avoid. Grammar should be topmost priority because it's writing and then comes your advanced vocabulary. Okay. So I would also like to give you two examples of section A and two examples of section B, which will help you to understand in detail how CLB 9 test kind of writing looks like. So that you are able to observe it and try to write it and replicate it yourself. With this, I'll also give you three more topics of section A and three of section B, so that you are able to practice it on your end and get it checked through ChatGPT. Okay, or of course you can, if you want, you can well share your answers here also for the correction in the comment box. Okay. Well, uh, that's the last point which I want to talk about. Well, just after this is right. Well, which already mentioned section B, the mistakes that destroy your scores. Don't write only two arguments, minimum three arguments. Don't write arguments without examples. Okay. Don't repeat the same idea, same vocabulary in a different words. Don't write complicated sentences if you cannot control grammar. So I hope now all your queries, all your doubts are clear about section A and section B of TEF writing. Still, if you have any question, if you have any doubt, do not hesitate to write us an email where you can write your suggestions, your questions, your queries, anything in the comment box. Okay. And of course, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel. We are going to meet soon again with a new topic, like very essential tips, which are going to be very beneficial for you to score higher in your TEF exam. Till then, bye bye. See you soon. Bonne journée. À bientôt.